The NFL draft is finally here, so if you are excited to watch the draft, like the video, or if you're excited to watch Russell Wilson highlights, like George Paton said everyone in Dove Valley would be doing for round one, that works too. Hit that thumbs up icon to start today's show. The wait is over. The 2022 NFL Draft is finally upon us. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. And coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the latest Broncos Draft Day rumors. And first things up, we've talked about a potential trade-up in the NFL Draft. Now, I don't think there's a way, I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe there is a way Denver could get into round one. But there's some inklings out there, including James Palmer at NFL Network, who thinks a move-up is possible. Paton doesn't expect to be getting the Broncos into the first round by any means. Their first pick is at pick 64, but they do have 9 picks and 5 picks in the first 4 rounds. You could see some movement, though, to my understanding from George Paton, because the Broncos, along with a lot of other teams, believe you can still find yourself a tackle at the start of the second round. That's a position you could potentially see Denver making a move up towards the earlier portion of round 2 because tackles they need for them. They have Billy Turner, who knows Nathaniel Hackett's system well, but they need some tackle help to help Russell Wilson. All right, that was a mouthful, but what do you think about this? Would you trade up in the draft? Type U for up, or if you like staying put at 64, you don't want to give up more draft capital. Let's just take what we have and wait to see who falls to us. Give me an S for stay. Here are the Broncos draft picks. Just to remind everyone, we've seen it a billion times, but you know what? This is the day we've all been waiting for. So here's what they have to work with. They have the final pick in round number 2. They got a couple of those day 3 picks like we talked about, 2 in round 3, a round 4, another round 4. So they got some arsenal pieces. They got some picks to work with. That's what I'm trying to get here. Now, here's their trade-up range. If you were to combine their second-round pick, number 64, and their first third-round pick, 75, package those puppies together, you get early to mid-second round, okay? It would be very weird to make another trade with the Seahawks. I'm guessing Seattle just, John Schneider just doesn't want to talk to Denver. He's heard enough about the Russell Wilson trade. He's probably not going to make 2 trades with the Broncos this offseason and give up a pick that they got from them in the first place. But you catch my drift here. Falcons, Browns, Ravens, Vikings. This is where the trade value chart says, hey, you combine these picks, you end up in this range here. I personally would stay unless someone insane falls. There are a lot of good tackles in this draft. I've got no problem waiting for a Daniel Falale, a Tyler Smith, someone in that neighborhood to come to you at the end of round 2. But if George Paton's got his big board and he's like, you know what, we love this player. If he falls out of round 2, we have to move out of round 1. We have to move heaven and earth to get this player. I don't see it happening. Maybe a trade in day 3 if they want to, feel frisky and they're getting bored and they're like, let's move up a couple spots in round 4. So be it. But I think ultimately Paton he's not going into today's draft most likely. I'm guessing day 2 he probably stays put. But hey, you never know. He moved up last year, so you can't rule it out again this year. Next up on the show, we're going to look at the latest Broncos draft targets. My final list of players I would love to see, with some realistic expectations of they probably may not be there at 64, but still, it's the NFL draft. You tell yourself it's the draft. You watch draft day enough, you know crazy stuff happens. So don't rule it out. Never say never. I am old enough to remember when Russell Wilson said he wasn't going to leave Seattle. Stuff happens, just going to say. If you want a breakdown of every single Broncos draft pick, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you stay in the know. You know who you're going to be seeing on Sundays when they pick someone in round 5. So hit that big red button, subscribe. We're closing in. We're right at the door of 7,500 subscribers. The next milestone is 8,000. Boss man here at Chat Sports says, hey, let's get that done sooner rather than later. I'm trying to take a vacation in June, so help me get that done. Hit that big red button and subscribe. Also, join us live at Chat Sports for the 2022 NFL Draft. We'll be covering all 3 days, all 7 rounds, every single pick. And I think the best part about Chat Sports is you actually get to be interactive with the host, have your voice, join the show. Tell me when ESPN's ever going to let audience members have an opportunity to hop on the show during the draft. Never going to happen. But at Chat Sports, we afford you that chance. So subscribe, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Now, let's look at my top 5 draft targets at pick 64 for the Broncos. The first one, and again, this is a mix of realistic / dream. You know, we're in that middle ground of probably not, but it could happen. They could fall there. Nik Bonitto, an edge rusher out of Oklahoma. Denver, by the way, I think I should just kind of preface off the bat, doesn't have a glaring need. We're just looking to add on to a loaded roster. So I've got 2 edge rushers, Bonitto and Drake Jackson. Now, Jackson out of nowhere has been getting some buzz, like first-round buzz. Who remembers back in January when I was doing early mock drafts, and I was talking about Jackson to the Broncos in that mid-second round pick, okay? It would be a stretch to fall to 64, but like we say, it's the NFL draft. Crazy stuff happens. You want to compare these guys head-to-head? Bonitto's more of a polished edge rusher. Drake Jackson is younger, but he's got the cliches, the physical traits, the tools that coaches, water their mouths over, and the idea of coaching them up to be their next edge rusher. Denver's got a lot on their roster between Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb, Malik Reed, Baron Browning, but you're looking at a couple guys who have expiring contracts after the season, so maybe Paton wants to think a step ahead and get an edge rusher first. Also heard he's interested in edge rushers and another position we'll take a look at in just a second. Who do you want to fall to Denver in round 2, though? Who is your guy that's like on the line of right there at 64, but probably might go a little earlier? Let me know who you'd love to see fall to the Broncos when they're on the clock. Another position Denver is rumored to be very interested in with one of their first picks, corner. So how about Cam Taylor-Britt? He was a corner for a 3-year starter at Nebraska. There are some, I guess we'll call it rumors, but I think maybe some signs that he might switch to safety, which is fine by me. I mean, Denver loves depth in the secondary. In fact, Paton, he loves his cornerbacks, Last season, what did he do in free agency? He got Ronald Darby. He got Kyle Fuller. What did he do with the 9th pick in the draft? He drafted a cornerback. He already had Michael Ojemudia on the roster, who kind of got forgotten, lost in the mix last offseason. But I liked him a lot back in 2020. He loves DBs. He thinks, you know what? If we have to play top quarterbacks in the AFC, yeah, we can get after them with edge rushers. Or how about we make their life a living hell by never letting them find an open receiver by having the top secondary in the NFL? Speaking of corners, I'm just thinking about last year's draft. Taking the corner in the first round. Some people didn't like it. I understood that. I understood the logic of it. But we can all agree now, PS2 is a bona fide top corner in the NFL. So put his jersey number down in the comments section if you think Patrick Surtain II is a top 5 corner in the league. Next dream target at 64, Chad Muma. The guy right up the road there, 25. You can't miss it. Hop over to Laramie. And the Cowboy linebacker did a lot of great things this past season in the Mountain West. And there is just something about Broncos drafting Mountain West players. It's just like a close to home type of feel. And that's a little foreshadowing for my final draft target right there. But here's my issue with maybe going Muma. The linebacker position as a whole is kind of declining. Like, you look at who the top contracts are going to, it's not going to linebackers. So maybe Paton will go, you know what? I can take a linebacker in round 2 and then a tackle in round 3. Or I can take tackle in round 2 and linebacker in round 3. I like the latter more. I don't think there's a big drop-off from my second-round linebacker to my third-round linebacker. But there is a big drop-off from my second-round tackle to my third-round tackle. Speaking of Mountain West, though, final draft target, how about Trey McBride? How fun would it be to keep the Denver area native at home at Mile High and just tack on to what's already a stacked offense? This is going to be a very difficult AFC this year. Fight fire with hotter fire. Okay? The expression fight fire with fire, not going to work in the AFC this year. So much talent left the NFC to the AFC this offseason that you have to have a loaded arsenal to keep up with some of these teams. And what better way to do that than getting the top tight end in this NFL draft class, letting Russell Wilson have another player to throw to, on top of what's already one of the best wide receiver rooms in the NFL, from Jerry Jeudy to Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick. KJ Hamler has looked great in practice and voluntary minicamp this week as he comes off that ACL injury. Fight fire with hotter fire. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned. We'll have all the Broncos draft pick breakdowns coming your way. We'll catch up with you later with more Broncos draft coverage. But until then, enjoy the NFL draft and enjoy watching Russell Wilson highlights tonight.